Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. I'm here with the one and only Michael Nigro. Listen, remember all those videos and pictures and all of that you see all over the place. Michael Nigro is an award-winning filmmaker, 6-time Emmy-nominated writer, director, and multimedia journalist based in Brooklyn, New York. His penchant for breaking news and social justice movements has put him at the forefront of some of the most crucial stories of our times, including, My Love, Occupy Wall Street, Standing Rock, the 2016 presidential election, Charlottesville, covering the immigration crisis in multiple locations in Mexico, the Yellow Vest movement in France, the ongoing protests in Hong Kong. I could go on and on and on, but I don't want to leave him there just staring at the camera. Michael Nigro, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm great, and I'm staring at you, Alberto. Nice to meet you.
Hey, good man. Hey, look, you have a storied record, brother. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I kind of just gave a little synopsis. Why don't you tell folks who you are? Because you are the kind of journalist that really is in the, what is the word that I want to say? That is out there in the field. Talk a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it goes right back to Occupy. I had been working in film and TV and documentaries for quite some time, and that was really where reality TV kind of erupted on the scene, and, it was garbage. And then Occupy exploded, and I just was working on this one show, and the second night of Occupy, it was a nighttime. I said, I've got to check it out. I went down there, and it really changed my career path. I began to just stay and record and video and take stills, and began to write about it simply because what was happening and what I was witnessing on the ground there wasn't what was being reported. And that's where I really took off.
I want to stop you right there, because that is the thing that I preach about on my show all of the times about the mainstream media. These guys stay apart. They never tell the story. I had some folks in Portland telling a different story than what we were hearing on TV. So folks, this is what we're talking about most of the times. Continue, please, Michael, because that is such an important point.
Well, when money gets involved in creating the news and you're seeing it through a corporate lens, it gets skewed on both sides. And what I and other number of journalists have become this kind of, I don't want to say we're a collective, but we've found each other out in the field. We found each other in Charlottesville, and we had to, protect each other and had each other's backs as much as we could. Same thing goes in Hong Kong. Same thing goes when you are out in the field covering movements. And it just turns out to be the kind of news that I want to report and discover. And also, I can go to Standing Rock. And the story I always tell of Standing Rock, on the last days, you had the governor say, if you wanted to cover the last days of Standing Rock, you have to sign a document, and you have to adhere to our rules. CNN, Fox, all the big networks said, okay, we sign, and they got put up away from the camp. I didn't want to report that, because if you kowtow to these kind of edicts, you're not reporting the news. You are a mouthpiece for the people who are telling you what you can report. So we stayed in the camp. We reported on the inside and try to give the real story, on both sides of it. I was, inside that camp, I was looking out at a militarized police force that was, it kind of felt cinematic, that they were just going to steamroll over everybody. And there were very few cameras there. All the other big buses and the vans and the big cameras, they couldn't even see what was going on in there. And so that's the kind of news, actions that I really want to report on.
Now, let me ask you that, because one of the drawbacks with working the way you work is funding. You have to eat, you have to stay alive, you have to find air flights to different parts of the world and what you do. How do you get to generate your income for doing this very important work?
We all have our different ways, our different tactics. Some people have, GoFundMe. Some people are working for news rooms. I've gone from several different newsrooms. I worked for BuzzFeed News for a while, where I helped head up and develop their live stream division. So they were able to have some funding and get me out there. But for the most part, it's self-funded. And I file photos to different news desks and news agencies, and then those get picked up and get disseminated across the world. I've worked for other publications who have been able to send me out on these things. I mean, it's a hustle. And then on top of that, I still do, to support myself and to support this kind of work, I work in film and TV still. There are other journalists that are out there that, I don't know how they do it, but they do it. And it is not for everybody. It can be very, very dangerous. And even more so now with what is happening in the White House.
I think it's so important because, when we talk about, I am a social justice, economic justice, criminal justice type of independent, run an independent show here. And one of the things that concern me a lot is, with folks like you on the outside, the only way you can do your job is if you are somehow not necessarily secure. I'm talking about physically, but secure in the totality, your health care. What happens when you get sick? What happened with your wife, your girlfriend, your whatever it is that you have? How do you maintain you have to have a life. So that is first of all, I consider you guys out there in the field my heroes, because I'm just saying, we can sit here behind all these screens and controls and all of that, but you guys are out there with you are in the middle of the stuff that's happening. Tell me, what's the biggest project you're working on right now?
Well, right now, there's so much going on.
Right.
And amongst a lot of the photojournalists right now, we're really prepping as to what is going to be happening in the streets, because it's not going to stop in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And what we are seeing is almost a collaboration with far-right groups and city police forces. You saw that in Kenosha, you see it in Portland, where they are literally letting the far-right and extremist groups take over the streets. And what that has been teaching a lot on both sides now is that if you come armed to the teeth, you are not going to be bothered by the police. So now we have left-wing groups that are arming themselves, Second Amendment, and then you also have right-wing groups have been coming armed to the teeth, as we saw in Charlottesville, as we were seeing in Kenosha, and as we're seeing in Portland. What I have taken to doing most recently, and one of the reasons why is because I did have COVID, and I am still recovering from that. And it has been a long haul for me to get through this, but it is about the First Amendment and what they are doing with press badges here in New York City, and what is considered your First Amendment right. In New York City, the police issue press badges. Now that is really bizarre.
Are you serious?
I am absolutely serious, and it's been going on for years, and no one's been able to get it out of their hands. They decide who is a journalist and who is not. There's many different nuances to this, but what it has become is this badge that they can take away and snatch at any time off of your neck. It's become a license to be a journalist, a license to the First Amendment. So if they take it away, they're not allowed to do that. It's in the Constitution. So I've been formulating with a group of photojournalists, reporters, lawyers, filmmakers, professors, to wrest the ability, the credentialing process from the NYPD. It is probably going to have to go through legal channels, but we have gotten a lot of pushback from the NYPD, because why do they do that? It's completely to control the narrative, as I said that they did in Standing Rock, as I'm saying that they're doing in Portland. We need to be able to cover these and be able to cross police lines and report on the news, not being told what we can and cannot report to.
That is sad. I don't see how it is that do you know when that happened, or has it always been that way, or?
It has been, I actually don't know when that happened. Back in the 40s, I do know that there was all these police badges or press badges that were being bandied about. The NYPD came in and said, let's just issue our own. And then it just slowly chipped away to what you could and could not do. It's an effective form of censorship of the press. Now, being a frontline journalist, going into hotspots around the world, it's honored. I have press all over me, my helmet, my badge. I did in Hong Kong, and it was honored. In New York City and in other cities now, they see it. It becomes a target, and it's a way to control the press and censor the press. In Hong Kong now, would I go there with a badge that said press on it? No, it's changed in a matter of like 3 months. Now I would not go in there, and I would not say that I'm press because I don't know if I'd get out.
Yeah, well, exactly, because China now is converting all the laws that govern the free press, etc. Now, that is a shame. Now, it's going to be an interesting election this year. We're going to probably have a whole lot of Trump's minions at voting booths throughout the country, likely more in areas where there's a lot of minority, black and brown folks voting. Do you have, or the photojournalists, do they have a plan to cover all these areas, an organized plan so that it will be pretty much covered in its entirety? Are they grouping together?
No, there's no real playbook here.
Mm-hmm.
No one can predict where these hot spots are going to flare up. Who knew Kenosha?
Mm-hmm. Why Kenosha? Yeah.
Portland has been a hot spot for quite some time because of the right wing and the Proud Boys and Patriot Prayer that come there and have been basically backed and protected by the police. Even though it is considered kind of this, keep Portland weird type of place,
Well, it's Oregon. Oregon has history.
Yeah, so that has been going on for quite some time. And I have a number of frontline journalists that are there that are worried about, can they get into the voting booths? What is going to happen? I cannot predict that. I'm not even sure what I'm going to do come November 3rd, except I know that I'll vote, and then I'll figure out where I'm going to cover this.
Now, I don't know if you saw the videos from Kenosha where the killer, Ridamore or whatever his name is, he walked right past 3 or 4 police vehicles with an AR-15. Nobody ever considered stopping him at all. What you thought about that?
I've covered a number of Second Amendment rallies. The most recent one was in Richmond, Virginia, where I think you had close to 30,000 men and women walking around with long guns. I mean, massive guns, 50 calibers, AR-15s, handguns.
50 caliber guns?
Oh yeah, it was, and you want to know what you didn't see there? Police. And this is what I'll go back to again. This is what is the lesson that is being taught is you come armed like this, that you are stoking those kinds of, clashes. And you're seeing that on the left now as well. So that it hasn't happened earlier, I'm shocked. Meaning just one trigger goes off, one person does that, it has a potential to be a bloodbath. Watching more and more of those videos of Kyle Rittenhouse and a number of these militia or people who are taking the side of law enforcement saying that we are going to protect, we're helping you protect, and then having a Kenosha police officer on video saying, we are going to take these Black Lives Matter protesters and we're just going to kind of corral them towards you.
I heard that. I saw when the guy said that. I didn't hear when the cops told him that. Did you have a video where the cops actually told him that as well?
Yes, I actually saw that video, and it is verified that the cops said, yes, we're going to put them towards you, and then you do whatever you want to them, end quote. And that is part and parcel of what has been happening in Portland.
Okay, Michael, let me stop you there, because the fact that we have that information and the fact that that isn't the headline of national news, that a police department told right-wingers that they will send, I mean, that is national news.
Apparently not. Apparently it's not. You have, during the RNC, the two, the husband and wife who had brandished guns,
Yes,
being paraded on Trump's stage, essentially giving license to somebody like Kyle Rittenhouse to walk around and parade guns and point guns and murder two people. He became an active shooter, and you had other people that tackled him and died in the process of trying to disarm him. What does he do? He walks right to the police. I mean, that's my perception of it. I wasn't there, but I've watched many, many videos.
I've seen the videos. That perception is pretty damn accurate. Now, I mean, I just want to kind of just inform you that right here in Texas, we had a left-winger, well, I don't call him a left-winger, Black Lives Matter person walking with a long gun, and some right-wingers came in a car and claimed that he pointed the gun at them. They blew him away, killed him right here in Austin, Texas. I mean, I'm in Houston. That occurred in Austin, Texas. And guess what happened to the guy? They released him from jail.
Yep. You know, it's happening everywhere.
We are. Trump has brought in a new form. I mean, has taken the right wing. Well, actually, what he's done is given license to the right wing. They've always, I mean, from the Obama days, they pointed out that these guys were terrorists. And now Trump is saying, well, they are my terrorists, so they're okay.
Yeah, I think that's completely accurate. And I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon. I think that we're going into this election with him stoking fear, talking about how if Biden gets in, that there will be no more suburbs, that there's such a divide that is happening, and it feels intentional. It feels that they are enjoying the chaos.
Well,
enjoying the chaos.
Well, you know, a spokesperson went on Fox News and said the more chaos there is, it's much better for Donald Trump. What's her name? She's leaving the administration now, Kellyanne Conway.
Conway, yes, that is true.
Yeah, but anyhow, so I mean, look, the work that you do, we first of all, we need to stay informed with what you do. How are you feeling now? How long have you had COVID?
So I had it in March.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm technically termed a long hauler now, which I just have residuals after it's not in my system anymore, but I have residual effects of my lung and other things that are going on. So I am a part of a Mount Sinai research and study, which I'm really happy to be in, because nobody still knows how this goes. Nobody has any answers for anything. So it's just a matter of time as I go through these battery of tests. To figure out how I can get better and how I can be, back on the streets again.
No, so you can't do any field work right now, pretty much, or are you too tired, or?
No, not at all. I go out when I can. I was out in New York City during the George Floyd protests and the curfew, which was insanity. Mm-hmm. And I've not seen any kind of violence like that against protesters and journalists ever like that. Even during Occupy, where I watched them, just pummel us. This was a coordinated effort, and this is one of the reasons why the NYPD press credential must get out of the NYPD's hands.
Well, Michael Nigro, it's been my pleasure to speak to you. I hope to hear a lot more from you. Thank you so kindly for having been here with Politics Done Right. Your work is necessary more now than ever.
Egberto, thank you so much. Anytime.
I'm Egberto Willies, host of Politics Done Right, an independent news program. I post several news videos of interest every day. I ask you so kindly to subscribe to my channel, and please leave me some comments. Thank you very much.